What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Next Pats podcast. I'm Phil Perry. We have a treat for you today. It's our good friend, Patriots legend, three-time Super Bowl champion, James White, hanging out with us, talking all things TreVeyon Henderson. My favorite pick of this year's draft for the New England Patriots. Yes, I know he's a running back. Yes, I know somewhere in the 30s for a running back. Generally speaking, a little bit early. Patriots got a great player in James White all the way back in the fourth round back in 2014. But to me, when you can make your quarterback's life a little bit easier by giving him that kind of weapon out of the backfield, hitting that easy button in terms of short throws that could potentially turn into really, really long gains or potentially turn into 6 points, that to me is a great pick. And that's exactly what TreVeyon Henderson is. So it was great to pick James's brain on all things, not only Henderson, because he covered him as a member of the Big Ten Network, but also that role, that pass catching back role specifically in Josh McDaniels' offense as well. And we had an opportunity to watch Henderson in the screen game. We also watched him as a true running back, though. Elliott Wolf, soon after the draft, called TreVeyon Henderson a three-down player. So it's very clear they view him as somebody who can do a little bit of everything at that running back position. And so we watch him taking handoffs from under center from Will Howard at Ohio State, and they're running duo with double teams at the line of scrimmage. They're running power with pulling guards and fullbacks leading the way. These are the kinds of plays that we're going to see again from this Josh McDaniels offense. That's what I always associate with McDaniels as not only under center. Of course, we know he could go in the shotgun and spread it out. In 2007, they were really the trailblazers as far as that goes in the pro game. But I'm thinking downhill runs. I'm looking at guys like Micah Wenu and Morgan Moses, these massive bodies. Even Will Campbell. He's a great athlete and he could play in any scheme. But when he gets his hands on you and he drives those legs, he is moving people. He is displacing bodies in the running game. And so I think we're going to see more of that downhill type of stuff. And you saw it at Ohio State. You saw it run by TreVeyon Henderson, and you saw some explosive gains because of the qualities that he has as a runner. And so we got a great breakdown from James White as to why those things work for TreVeyon Henderson, why he's able to execute those types of plays, and why he might be able to execute them here in New England. We're also hearing about one of the most unheralded rookies in this year's class. He wasn't a draft pick. He's a member of the undrafted rookie class. But if you listen to our last podcast and you heard that we put together a 53-man, way too early Patriots roster projection, you saw that I had a fullback on there, lumped in with tight ends Austin Hooper and Hunter Henry. And maybe you've never heard of him before. His name's Brock Lampy. He played at Northern Illinois. James White worked at Northern Illinois up until last year. He's now the assistant running backs coach at Illinois. But he knows Brock Lampy. He knows him well. And he has a prediction for Brock Lampy's future here in New England that you're going to have to hear. So without further ado, here's our conversation with James White. All right, there he is. There's our guy, friend of the Next Pats podcast, Patriots legend, Super Bowl champion several times over, James White. Thanks for being with us, buddy.
No problem. Appreciate you having me.
Also have to mention assistant running backs coach at the University of Illinois. How is the job going so far? Let's get a little update on James White as he climbs the college football ranks here, my friend.
It's going fine so far. Just getting familiar with the offense, getting familiar with the backs and the rest of the team, trying to get to know the guys on a personal level, and then inputting a lot of data. That's what I'll say. So that's probably the biggest learning curve, but starting to get in a routine. But staff is great, so it's been fun so far.
I don't know how much data Ivan Fears had to input during your time with him, but
probably zero.
probably very little. But have you leaned on him otherwise to get any tips, any advice when it comes to applying your trade now as a coach?
No, I honestly haven't, but I should reach out to him. I mean, last year helping out at NIU, my running backs coach in college, the head coach there, so got plenty of information from him. I sat in on pretty much all their running back meetings last year, and then the running back coach here, Thad Ward, he's awesome. He's been doing this for a long time, so I've been learning a lot from him as well.
Have to ask you about one NIU player a little bit later in the conversation, but we did want to focus on TreVeyon Henderson, second pick of the draft. Universally, James, this draft that the Patriots have just completed here has been just really, really highly praised. And I think it's due in large part to what they were able to do through the first couple of days. And so, on day two, TreVeyon Henderson is sort of the star of that day for New England. When you look at him, you did some work for the Big Ten Network, so you've covered him in your own way, sort of analyzed his game in the past. Obviously, a Wisconsin guy yourself, so I know you're always keeping up on Big Ten football. Now you're in the mix yourself. But when you watch this player, especially considering, it was really the Patriots' goal to surround Drake May with people that are going to make his life easier next season. How do you think Henderson and somebody with that kind of skill set can help the young quarterback?
I mean, this is a home run pick, in my opinion. This is a guy, out of Ohio State, his first couple of years, got banged up a little bit. But, once they added Quinshawn Junkins, another running back that was extremely talented as well, he had to split time. I feel like, taking some of the workload off of him, help him stay healthy. When the dude was healthy throughout his career, all I could think of explosive plays. I mean, check downs, running plays, but he could take the ball, 50, 60 yards in a split second. So I think, this is great. You see them, isolate him against linebackers at times. You see him find spots and zones. He runs the football effectively too. I mean, I can I can probably count on two hands the amount of times that I've seen him, create explosive plays just last year on screen plays or run plays, in big games, big time moments when the team really needs it most. So I think this is great. And he can pass block too. He's definitely the best pass blocking back, in the country. He's knocking, linebackers off their feet. You don't typically see that, from most college backs. So I think this is everything, Josh will want, in a running back. I mean, there is talented guys in the room too, Ramondre and, with Antonio Gibson as well. Those guys will still be featured. When I was there, it was like 4 or 5 of us, getting, mixed in at different times. So I still think Josh should do a lot of that too.
Yeah, I think people, may forget just the running back rooms, just the number of guys that you had contributed. I mean, you think about it, whether it's you and Dion Lewis and LeGarrette Blount and Rex Burkhead. And I mean, you guys would have, 3 backs at times that were getting real work and playing in critical situations. And maybe the roles were a little bit different, but, you all could do a lot of different things as well. I mean, the moment that everyone will always associate with your career forever, James, is you're a goal line back. And I don't think people, when they look at your career, big picture, they think of you in that way. But that won the team a Super Bowl, and it was because you had the ability to do it. All you guys could do a little bit of everything. When it comes to Josh's offense, we've heard so many times over the years, that it is relatively complex, and over a long period of time with Tom, especially, it got built up to be, this voluminous piece of literature that you guys were handed at the beginning of every year. What will be the biggest challenge, you think, for Henderson as he gets accustomed to Josh's offense?
Biggest challenge, I think, I mean, he may put a lot on his plate early, see if he can learn, tailback, learn F, learn, multiple different positions to see, what all he can retain, early on his first year. I know I was, thrown into that a little bit my rookie year. We had some injuries, at, I think it was tight end or fullback, like during OTAs, and we're running 2 minute with 2 running backs. Now, I had never really done anything like that, but it was all happening really fast. But I think he'll just be challenged to learn. Obviously, blitz protecting, the run stuff will come easy. It's all somewhat the same, just different verbiage. Just learning the protections, just learning the mic points, learning the communication between the offensive line to the quarterback, between offensive line, the running backs, all things like that, which he's done before. It's just all just new verbiage, and the faster you pick that up, I mean, I'm sure this kid will be on the field playing. I'm sure, week 1, making an impact. So I don't think it'll be overly challenging, but I would say we were there. We run a ton of personnel groups, a ton of different shifts, formations, and all that stuff. But once you get it down packed, I mean, from what I can see, I feel like he'd be a smart kid playing under, Chip Kelly and Ryan Day and all those guys. I'm sure, most of those guys will walk in the building and be pro ready.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You mentioned, your rookie year, it sounds like, being asked to understand multiple roles. And so when you say tailback versus F, I think of as like a receiver role.
It's a receiver, yeah, but
Yeah.
it could be and it would just kind of depends on the formation and things of that nature. But I mean, you can be asked to do some of the similar things to what receivers are doing as well. I mean, the more he can show that he can retain, I mean, he'll be lining up all over the field.
Yeah, was that the toughest thing for you, the multiple positions? I mean, I remember you essentially and I remember Bill talking about it after the 2016 Super Bowl, where again you had the game-winning play, had a monster game that day. He's talking about how just a few years ago, you were basically redshirting in 2014 as a rookie. Was it the multiple roles that really was was that the biggest thing for you early on that was, took the most time?
No, it wasn't. I mean, the game of football, typically learning plays and stuff and all that comes pretty easy to me. It was just not showing any production. That was like the huge thing for me in my rookie year during the preseason. Like during practice, I would do fine, but when the preseason games rolled around, I didn't really do much of anything. So it was kind of hard for them to look at the preseason. But, oh yeah, we need to play this guy. I wasn't being myself out there on the football field. Not that I was a lack of confidence or anything like that. It's just where's this guy we saw at Wisconsin that's not showing up in these preseason games. So I think that's where I really kind of had to sit back for that entire year. And once I came back that second year, I was like, okay, I gotta get back to being me, doing the things that make me a good football player. Making people miss mistakes, blocking people and doing all those, catching the ball out of the backfield. Doing the things why they drafted me in the first place. I had to get back to really doing that all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure that's how the Patriots feel about TreVeyon Henderson. Like BU, there's a reason they drafted him
Yeah.
in the second round, and I want to show you. I'm going to share my screen here, James, and I want to show you a couple of different plays that stood out to me as potentially the kinds of plays that he might be asked to execute at the next level, especially with Josh McDaniels. And I'm looking for things that to me, what screams Josh McDaniels. Screen game, right? I mean, like, how many different screens did you guys run when McDaniels was the coordinator here? Like, it probably would be tough to lay them all out here in a 20-minute podcast. But this was a play, and I guess that is one maybe critique of his game. Like, he's not necessarily running routes like down the field. Not many running backs are. But it seems like he has some really sure hands. I think he only dropped 2 passes in the last 2 years, and they used him a lot in the pass game. And this one got a lot of attention because it was in the college football playoff. But you could see here, he's out in space, and he can really fly. I mean, is there anything to this type of run? Once he's in the open field, that speaks for itself. That's all speed right there. But when you're watching him and setting up these blocks, is there a patience that can be hard for running backs to get accustomed to showing on the field in real time like this, letting these big guys get out in front of them and kind of letting them do their thing before he has to go?
When it comes to the screen game, I think it all comes down to obviously time in between, running back, offensive line, you staying connected with those guys the entire time. The time between the quarterback and running back and releasing, right when the quarterback's about to throw the ball. And then you have to set your blocks, which he's doing, right there. The offensive lineman, that's the toughest blocks for them, is to be in space against defensive backs and linebackers who are a little bit quicker than them. So you can set your blocks, you can make these home run plays, and he's done it, countless times. And clearly he has, more speed than I ever had. This dude is running like 21, 22 miles per hour when he gets in that open field. So he's a special player. I mean, that play that he did run, I mean, I ran that countless times. And Josh is always going to have, running back screens, receiver screens, in his arsenal. He used them very effectively. It's an easy way to get easy access yards, especially when teams are playing a ton of zone coverage. And yeah, man screens as well that you can help, really pick apart the defense too.
Yeah, and I think you hope that's sort of like an easy button kind of play for the quarterback, right? So he doesn't have to feel like everything is drop back pass game and, throwing it down the field. This next one is more of a traditional run play. And again, college football, like I think at Ohio State, you mentioned Chip Kelly, like guys that are running pro style offenses, you see more of this. But it's not everywhere in the college game. Like you're seeing a fullback out here. I think this guy's got a 90 number on, so like that's not your traditional football
Rare.
traditional fullback necessarily. But you got a bunch of big people on the field. I don't know. It looks like 13 personnel or something, and they're gonna pull a guard. And I think of this Josh McDaniels run game, and I know he's had everything in his playbook. I'm sure over time, James.
Yeah.
But I think of teams that you guys had, and James Devlin being back there and just getting downhill and pulling guards and getting downhill like that. And it looks like he's not just the passing back that I think he gets a lot of credit for, and he should, rightfully so. But he can run it between the tackles too, and so we're gonna see the guard pulling here and some big bodies out front. And I mean they've got a great offensive line there, James. So it's like there's some room to run on some of these, but. As a running back, what's the key on a play like this one? And do you see it from him?
Yeah, I mean, it's just patience and setting your blocks and knowing your run reads, knowing your landmarks, staying on the inside hip of those pullers, allow them to make their blocks, and if they're able to kick them out, you hit it up inside. If they're able to wall a linebacker off, then you take it outside as what TreVeyon did in this run right here. So he has the patience, he has the explosiveness. And this kid is definitely versatile. I mean, most running backs that come out of college are not just going to only be catching the football. It's going to be majority of screens. I mean, the running back that I saw in college that did a similar type of thing that we did in the pros was Jahmyr Gibbs a little bit, and then Clyde Edwards-Helaire when he was coming out of LSU. They isolated him in the linebackers quite a few times when they had all those pro guys on their offense. So it's very rare you see that in college football. So I know he's capable of doing. Ohio State has done it a few times. I've seen him run some sluggos against linebackers lined up in empty formation, and everything like that. So he has the versatility to do whatever they need him to do.
The last run play I want to show again, just because I feel like you could see this from the Patriots, and I don't know what you would call this. This might be run from under center more for Josh. I know he likes kind of marrying up that run game and the pass game and getting the play action going and all that, but double teams at the line of scrimmage, whether you call it duo, your duo, your gap play,
Yeah.
I think is what Scar used to call it.
Yeah.
Um, like this is the kind of thing he might see when he gets to Foxborough. What's the toughest part of a play like this one? Because I think on this particular play, he actually runs into some traffic early and he has to kind of navigate it a little bit. But is this a tough read for a back when you're just trying to get those double teams at the line? Like, does he have a choice to make here, James?
Yeah, you have a choice to make it all. I know for us, I know everybody may teach it a little bit differently. We would read the Mike linebacker, or you read whatever these two linebackers are there, in the box. Whichever one fills the middle, you would go where he is, or you would go where he's coming from. That's how we would typically teach it. I mean, it doesn't always necessarily work out like that, but that's how we would teach it. Here it's going to be a little bit closer because you have a free, safety or a corner out there coming off the edge. So kind of got to probably just pin it off in there. But that's how we would teach it. I think duo all comes down to patience, in my opinion. I mean, Le'Veon Bell was one of the greatest players at running these gap schemes. He was just ultimately patient, allow those double teams to work to get up to the second level, then boom, you make a cut. But in that type of situation, where you have a free hitter on the backside, that kind of changes the way you really got to really get it going where he finds, some space right here. But I think it all comes down to patience.
Yeah, it seems like that seems to be sort of a consistent theme. Is you've got to be paid, whether it's the screen game or duo, like,
Yeah.
and it seems like he has that, right? So the other thing I wanted to show you here, James, and you already mentioned it, but the pass protection stuff I know is stuff that has gotten NFL people that I've talked to about Henderson like really fired up. It's like the first thing they bring up, and this guy's like, a fifth of his carries go for 10 yards or more, and he's scoring touchdowns from everywhere on the field. And the first thing you got to watch this guy pass protect. Like, does this get you fired up, James, when you see this? Like, he's putting people on their backs, like these, we don't have to watch all that many. And he's like snatching souls here. Like it's pretty vicious. I mean, they're using him as a lead blocker for Will Howard, the quarterback. And I love this one because we got to see you get the emotion on the field too here. So he just lays this guy out. He's right there in the middle of the screen. And then you get the primal scream at the end there too. Like, what does that tell you about him? The fact that he takes that part of his job as seriously as he does, apparently.
I mean, it shows me he's a complete football player. He has the want to, to actually go out there and physically, get it done. I think the biggest part of being a pass protector is the want to do it. Most guys don't want to do it. They're just like, oh, okay, I got to do it. I'll just get in the way. He's like, no, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna hit you in your mouth, when I do it. So it's definitely cool to see, especially as running back, and now as running back coach to bring the fight to the linebacker. Most guys, like to catch, the block. When you can deliver the blow, it makes a world of a difference.
Yeah, I've heard the term or the phrase, sometimes you're just trying to die slowly. Is that right,
Yeah,
James?
yeah,
Where
yeah.
like
Some guys Yep.
if there's a 255-pound linebacker coming at you full speed, and you're kind of flat-footed, and you're going to do everything you can and to be as violent as you can, but you're probably going to get the worst of that interaction. So you're just trying to kind of impede his progress, I guess is the best way to put it. But boy, this guy's like, you're right. He's kind of taking the fight to the other side, which I think is going to get Patriots fans really excited. The last thing I wanted to ask you, James, here, we've kept you for so long, and I know you've got so much on your plate with the new gig at Illinois, but I did want to ask you about somebody that you were with at your old gig at Northern Illinois, and I hope I don't mispronounce his name. Is it Brock
Lampy.
Lampy? Okay, it's a long E at the end. Brock Lampy. Just signed with the Patriots. He looks like a fullback to me, James. And again, I think of Josh McDaniels' offense. I just mentioned James Devlin, who I know is doing some work for the PA. Saw him at the combine. It was great to see him a couple of months ago. Like, is this guy going to be the Patriots fullback of the future potentially? I don't know if they have many others on the roster that sort of fit that role. So what will he bring to that locker room, James, from what you know of him?
He's definitely the fullback, of the future. He's, exactly James Devlin. He's smaller, but similar to how you watch TreVeyon Henderson blocking the linebackers, he brings that same type of tenacity, whether it's a defensive end, linebacker, safety. He's gonna throw his face in there, and he's gonna bust some people up. So Josh has always used a fullback in his system. I think this is the perfect addition here, and he can catch the football. Like we threw it to him quite a few times. Out of the backfield, he can run routes and make some plays that way too. So there's some versatility. He's lined up in the backfield. He's lined up, in the wing formation, line up in empty. He's gotten some fullback belly. So I think this is great. I was happy to see that he got opportunity. I know he didn't get drafted, but being able to work with him last year, we line him up all over the place. He would do a lot of stuff. So it's the perfect fit.
Any chance you were in Josh's ear? Hey, you got to look at this guy. You got to see this guy.
No, I wasn't. But I mean, there's only a few fullbacks in the entire world, anymore. So I mean, it's not that many to sort through, and he's definitely the best one in the country by far.
What I find interesting about guys that play that position, James, and I always wondered this about James Devlin too. I know you guys would occasionally get physical in practice, right? Like, but it couldn't be all the time. I mean, the rules prevented it
Yeah.
from being all the time. And so, like, how can those guys perfect their craft? What kind of practice player was Brock Lampy? I mean, was he getting after it and
Oh
trying to
yeah.
lay guys out in practice so that he knew
Oh
what he was
yeah.
supposed to be doing during the game?
Oh yeah, full speed. And whenever you can make those game like reps in practice, that makes the game so much easier for you. But anytime you're blocking, it really comes down to technique at the end of the day. Like we love to see like the blow up block and everything like that, but that's can't be your approach every single time because guys will just start olaying you. So I think it comes down to technique, and when you have the opportunity to really, you know, get into somebody, then you definitely do that. So whenever you can resort back to that technique, that's always what's best.
All right, Brock Lampy. Let's keep an eye on him. I had him on we do our ridiculously early 53-man roster projection, like, whatever it is, 9 months before it actually happens, James. And I had him on there because I'm looking at the roster. I'm like, Josh is going to want a fullback. I'm not sure who else is supposed to be doing it. I know that tight ends will kind of mix in there occasionally, but it's different. It's different, right? It's a different role, especially guys, some of those veteran guys like Austin Hooper and Hunter Henry. Like, you want those guys out there catching the ball and being in places that they're accustomed to, not necessarily, lead blocking out of the I formation.
Yeah, I truly think he makes the roster. He plays special teams too, so that all that stuff matters. And I said he brings something to the table that probably nobody else, on the roster can. So I think he'll be a big factor.
Love it. Love it. Great insight from former Northern Illinois employee, current Illinois football employee. James, good luck with the new gig. Thanks so much for spending as much time with us as you did. I know I learned something here today about playing running back and even fullback, and I'm sure our viewers, our listeners did as well. So thanks so much for your time. As always, you are the best.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
I know James White is part of the college coaching community now, but he's still got a little media guy in him when it comes to that stuff that he did with the Big Ten. He's throwing takes at us. He's throwing predictions at us at the very end there. Brock Lampy, he's going to make the roster as a fullback, says James White. I'm on the same page with him. I know Josh McDaniels loves players who play that position. I know he loves that role in his offense. I don't know who else executes that role in this offense. Now, listen, we've seen guys in the past like a Landon Roberts shift from linebacker to fullback in the past just to make sure somebody played that role. I don't think that's going to happen this year. I think that's why they bring on somebody like a Brock Lampy, and they probably knew they didn't have to draft him in order to get him. But I could certainly see him having a bigger role, potentially. It's early, but a bigger role, potentially, than some of the guys they did spend a draft pick on. So we'll have to track Lampy's progress. We will, of course, track TreVeyon Henderson's progress in this offense during OTAs, during some of the passing camps. That in some ways should be Henderson's time to shine. That's really where his skill set, to me, will be most useful, especially early in his career. You have Ramondre Stevenson, you have Antonio Gibson. These guys are big backs. These guys are 220 plus pounds. You want to hammer them between the tackles. Great. Henderson can do it too. We just watched it with James White. But when it comes to the pass game, and we know how important that is in terms of allowing teams to have success in this league and allowing them to execute in critical situations, that to me is really where the Patriots are going to lean on him and lean on him early in his career. Drake May should be leaning on him early in TreVeyon Henderson's career because he can make that kind of impact, in my opinion, and clearly in the opinion of one James White. Thanks so much to James for being on with us yet again, one of the great friends of the Next Pats podcast. Thanks to you all for listening. We doubled up on episodes this week. James White yesterday, we were able to record with Tyler Dunn from golongtd.com. Great conversation about all things AFC East, where the Patriots sit sort of in the national landscape, talking to a national media member. So if you hadn't listened to that conversation, make sure you go back and check that one out. We will continue to hammer you with post-draft Patriots content. We're going to hear from Drake May this week, so I'm sure we'll have some thoughts on what he had to say, and we can talk about that in our next episode of Next Packs. But there is so much, so much for us to pick through post-draft here. 11 draft picks, all kinds of interesting undrafted rookies. So we want to hammer you with as much information as we can on all of those guys. We will continue to do that starting next week. So thanks for listening to this edition of the Next Pats podcast. We will talk to you again very, very soon.